My guest today is Josh Kantor. Since 2003, Josh has been the live organist for the Boston Red Sox games at Fenway Park. He's also played organ on ESPN and at the Boston Symphony Hall and the Smithsonian. He's contributed recordings to TV shows, radio shows, films, plays, audiobooks, podcasts, web series, blogs, e-cards, weddings, funerals, and even a snow globe. And since 2011, Josh has performed and recorded around North America and Europe with hundreds of musicians, including some you've heard of and some you may even like. His daily live stream during the COVID lockdown of songs, stories, interviews, and antics entitled The Seventh Inning Stretch raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for food banks. And you should know that Josh's favorite song is whichever one he's about to play next. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome to Revolutions Per Movie, Josh Kantor. Hi, Josh.
Hey, Chris.
How's it going?
It's going all right. I'm so excited to be doing this. I've listened to so many episodes of other people sharing their great insights, and I'm just beyond honored to be a guest.
Well, listeners, I'm so honored because Josh redid the theme song to the show here, and it was very flattering and cool. A couple of things we got to get to first before we end up talking about Stevie Wonder's journey through your life and my life and plant life. You're very coy in your introduction in terms of like, oh, you know, I've played with some bands you might like or have heard of. Come on, tell some of the great people you've played with.
Probably the one that I'll, carry with me to my grave would be playing "I'll Take You There" with Mavis Staples in a small theater. Just because she's kind of, been such an all-time favorite of mine for so long, and it was a sort of wild set of circumstances that led to it happening. But yeah, for whatever reason, I've ended up playing with just a ton of people locally in Boston, people who tour, and including some big names. I think when I started playing with the Baseball Project, doing some occasional keyboard work for them maybe 15 years ago. And that was the first time that I met Peter Buck or Scott McCoy or Mike Mills. And then it turns out, like, if you hang out enough with those guys, you end up meeting a lot of other people too. And so that's how I've met so many of the Portland musicians that I've gotten to work with. And so many musicians just kind of from all over US and parts of Europe. And
you did recently like the Dream Syndicate Medicine Show stuff, right?
I was a touring keyboardist for the Medicine Show East Coast run a couple months ago, and that was super fun. I don't know. Every once in a while, I get to get on stage with people whose posters were on my wall when I was in high school. So it's
and I'm
wild.
So sorry about condolences to the passing of your friend and colleague Clem Burke, who you were in Split Squad with.
Thank you.
How did that band generate? Because it's such a weird combination of people. It makes sense on paper, but still, like, the idea of like, oh yeah, we need yet another band to be in.
I mean, it's a peculiar amalgam, I guess, in some ways. But but Michael Giblin, who's our bass player and principal singer and principal songwriter, he just kind of wanted to do this, and he knew everybody, and he thought it would be a good mix of people, and I think he turned out to be right about that. And I think Clem and Keith Strang from the Flesh Tones and Eddie Munoz from the Plimsolls, like, those guys went way back. They all knew each other, in the early days, and so I think for them it was fun to have this thing to do together. And then Kurt Ballock has been playing guitar with us more recently, and he's just the best. And
so mellow.
Yeah. So I just right. I don't know. I learned so much from being around those guys, and Clem was always like my he was like my doctoral professor of rock, just like everything want to know about how to be in a band and how to be in a van. Um, was he was happy to share, and really like took me under his wing, and yeah, I just cherish those times together. And but the main thing I learned from him, and the same from the REM guys, like they just love to play. They're just as happy playing in a small room as they are in a big room, and on some nights they're even happier playing in a small room than in a big room. And and they feel like, hey, I don't mind getting in the van. I get to hang out with my friends. I get to play music with my friends. I get to travel. This is pretty great. And so it just, it was great lessons for me to see that and to realize, like, yeah, you don't have to, you can always, like, I don't know, you play wherever you're asked to play.
Totally. No, I remember when Peter Buck was making just a couple solo records he did.
Yeah.
The very first solo show he ever played, he asked a band I was in, the Needful Longings, to open in Seattle. And so people had flown there from like Japan and all these places to see, like, oh, it's an REM member playing. And Peter just came backstage. He's like, I'm going on first. He's like, I just want to get this done. He's like, and I'm like, are you sure? Like, people are like, no, like, I just want to play now. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Great. Like, it's just so funny. He's like, yeah, this will do. There's people here. It's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
like more time to hang out and relax.
Yeah, totally.
Obviously, being such an accomplished keyboardist, you started, what age did you start playing?
I started playing piano when I was probably about 4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know that also you moved to Chicago and started getting into baseball, which Portland has never had a major league team.
Right.
So to me, I've never been to like a major league game.
Oh, wow.
Gotten into it, right?
Yeah.
So Chicago White Sox, correct?
The White Sox were sort of the team I gravitated towards. My parents were Cubs fans, and so I think it was like
right,
my
two
teenage
teams.
Rebellion.
Right. I forgot. It's like, I can tell you about the effigies and Big Black, but like I don't know baseball. So, but I know from talking to you that Nancy Faust was somebody who was the organist at these games, and that was kind of your gateway into falling in love with that. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think I grew up. I went to grade school down in Athens, Georgia, which was kind of funny because it was at the time that those REM guys were coming up. They hadn't quite hit it big yet, but even as a middle schooler, like I knew who they were. I'd see them walking around town and think like, those guys are cool. They're in a band. But yeah, then in ninth grade, I moved to Chicago and I went to some White Sox games and some Cubs games. But I just remember being totally captivated by Nancy Faust's organ playing. It was very just like fun and fresh and whimsical and interesting and
were they playing was she like playing songs, contemporary songs, or was she just what was what would someone play?
I think that was part of it, was that she was there for 41 years. She started very young. She was 23 in 1970, and at that time around the league, all the ballpark organists were still hadn't caught up to like Elvis yet,
Okay.
Still playing like show tunes and Tin Pan Alley and Sinatra and that kind of thing.
Right.
And she came in and was playing like, the hits of the late 60s and early 70s, it was certainly a golden age for soul and R&B and lots of cool rock and pop stuff happening as well. And so she kind of revitalized it in a way, and she also was just really brilliant with she was very quick to come up with the melody to a popular song where you'd hear the lyric in your head singing along, and the lyric would invoke some clever reference to something that had just happened on the field.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it was just this kind of magical thing. And I mean, I remember I used to sort of like her booth was sort of accessible. You could go watch her play, and I would go watch her play when I was a teenager, and occasionally I would pester her. But I do remember, as a high school student thinking like that must be the coolest job in the world. Not thinking anything would ever come of it for me, but I ended up doing a lot of, I learned how to play the organ, and I had done a lot of live accompaniment for like improvisational theater, which is a very transferable skill. Um, and just from playing in rock bands, I'd had all this kind of ear training. And so I was like very, very much right place, right time when I had moved to Boston to go to college, and then I stayed here, and then they had the auditions, and I got, recommended for to get an audition.
What is your organ setup? Is it like a traditional, like large scale?
Yeah, no, it's a mid 90s Yamaha Electone AR 100. So it's kind of big. I mean, it weighs probably close to 300 pounds. But it's
Okay.
fairly compact, I guess, for what it is, and it's just RCA cables into the house, as it were, into the board, out to, the house being a 40,000 seat stadium. And so yeah, but it's, and I've spent a lot of time, tweaking and trying to get the sounds on there that I want to get, because I do want it to evoke the traditional feel. I studied recordings of John Kiley, who was the Red Sox organist from the 50s through the 80s, to sort of get a feel for his sound. But it's a sound you might expect at an old school ballpark or at an old school theater. Um, but I'm playing, I don't know, Beyonce, 1 minute,
Oh, yeah.
and the Ramones the next minute.
Oh, I have what you played over the course of a weekend here
Oh
for
God.
your song requests. Everything
Right.
from, okay, so like Black Sabbath, Pavement, Rush, The Kinks, Beastie Boys, Till Tuesday, Maceo Parker, Joy Division, Wilco, Donovan, Bob Marley, Led Zeppelin, The Archies, REM, Marvin Gaye. It's just so intense. How do you? So it's request based now a lot, right? It's just like people can just digitally be like, "Hey, can you play this?"
Yeah. So like, social media kind of became a thing after I'd already started working there. And so just as an
Okay.
experiment, I put myself out there, and just by word of mouth was like, hey, if you're in the stands at a game, send me a song request and I'll see if I can learn it. And it grew very, very slowly. Gradually, I'd get like one or two a night, and now I get a lot. Um,
I would be on it all night. I'd be like, "Yeah, let me ask you this: Have you ever done a fall song?"
oh, I'm sure I have.
Yeah, I'm sure you've done. So here would be my four:
Yeah.
Cruisers Creek by The Fall,
Oh God.
He's a Whore by Cheap Trick,
Okay.
Moisture by The Residents, because it's under a minute, and Capital Cooler by Sloan.
Oh yeah.
So that'll be
Uh,
my four. And I did
yeah.
that.
I've definitely done some Sloan. I think, well, the under a minute is good. I mean, so that's part of it, is that oftentimes I'm only playing like 30 or 40 seconds. So like someone sending the request, I'm either like familiar enough with it to run with it, or like maybe not quite. And I just need to pull up a stream on my laptop and listen in an earbud just once to kind of remember, get the feel, get the changes, get the melody.
Wow.
Or it's something where I'm like really unfamiliar and I have to, in which case, I don't know. I've practiced this so many thousands of times that I've gotten it down to where, if it's a pop song or a rock song, like there's only kind of a finite number of directions that it can go melodically and chordally. And so if I listen to it two or three times, I can usually at least come up with the 30 seconds of whatever's the hookiest, part of the song that people are maybe going to recognize. I mean, obviously you picked some stuff that's not like, in the top 40, right? So most of
No.
what I
That's
play,
why I'd be driving you crazy. I'd be
yeah,
going,
no.
"Oh yeah, I just
Well, and
thought
I
of this."
do, like once, one song per person per game.
I'd have 12 accounts. I'd just
Yeah,
be like,
I know. But I would say, like, I mean, you read off that list there, like 90 to 95% of the stuff is hits, songs that
yeah,
have been hit at some point in their life. And then the other 5 to 10% is the, you know, throwing a bone to the weirdos who want to hear the weird music, or the
right.
people who who know, there's some small number of people who know, like, oh, that's that guy Josh who, like, he'll play anything, or like, oh, he plays with
Uh-huh.
indie bands, so he knows indie songs, or whatever the thing is. And then it's just fun to, you know, like, I don't know. I've always loved hits, and I love playing hits, and then it's fun on the side every once in a while, because then the small number of people who get it, they're like, oh my god, I can't believe you just played a Residence song. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Do you ever have like, since you're in Boston, do you have to be like, well, I feel like Mission of Burma or maybe the Liars today or something? Do you ever do anything that's like
Yeah.
like traditional from like the older scene?
Yeah, we definitely. I definitely lean into Boston-based artists, whether it's from that era or even older than that.
Yeah.
If you're talking about like uh, uh,
Ultimate Spinach.
yeah, no, I don't think I've ever played Old Big Fish, but I'm thinking of like uh, Modern Lovers or Burying the Remains, or but then
Oh,
also
sure. Right.
there's newer stuff too. 80s and 90s and even up into 21st century. And sometimes I might lean in, like there might be one night where I'll be like, hey, I'm doing all Massachusetts artists tonight. Definitely, yeah, every once in a while that happens, and people will, uh, sometimes that's part of people's request. They're like, I grew up in Boston and I left and I came back and I missed it so much. And you got to hit me with some boss tones or whatever, like it does. It keeps me somewhat up to speed, so I'm not paying attention to like, that Drake or Taylor Swift just dropped a new single, but people will let me know at the games. They'll message me and be like, here's the link. The song just dropped this morning. It's really catchy. I think you should learn it. And
Wow.
I will. And that's, and that's really fun. And yeah, you know, I'm sure you can relate to this, my sort of esoteric, trivial knowledge of forgotten bands from the 80s is kind of just becoming less relevant to the world as time goes on.
Except I have a podcast that celebrates a lot of it.
Exactly, which is awesome.
Oh, I'm in trouble. What is one of the weirdest requests you've ever gotten that you're just like, oh, that's so cool?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I get a lot of cool ones where I'm like, geez, I never ever would have thought of that. I mean, if you're talking about weird, like sonically weird, I don't know. Like I once played a chorus of an Ornette Coleman song that was like marginally melodic, like whatever. I found the most melodic thing I could possibly find. Um, for me, the weirdest ones it's usually the stories that go with the requests that are weird.
Okay.
People, it's kind of like, when people call into a radio show and they're just like, they're just a little, I don't know, they're a little high strung or something, and they start telling you what's going on, and you're like, whoa, this is insane. So yeah, so the song might be very middle of the road, but the story behind, so this guy, there's one time this guy messaged me, he's like I'm here with my friend and we haven't seen each other in 10 years, and the last time we saw each other we won a radio contest where we won 50 pounds of shrimp because we had the best karaoke version of Light My Fire, so could you play Light My Fire for us? And it's like the song is ubiquitous, but the story is incredible, or sometimes they're just a little you're not quite sure what to make. Somebody's like, will you play this song for me and my girlfriend? It's our song, and it's actually like a breakup song, and you're like, have you guys
Right.
actually listened to the lyrics of this one?
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, or I remember there was one time the guy was like, I'm here with my mom. It's her first game at Fenway. Can you play Like a Virgin for my mom? And I was like, little uh I don't know. The Freudian implications are a little,
Right.
but sure.
Yeah, some people are not lyrics people, Josh,
Yeah,
so
yeah. I mean,
it's
I'm
like,
not really lyrics people either, but
I'm not either.
but I'm always fascinated by what songs resonate with people. So
Yeah.
it's a great way to get in touch with that.
I'm really freaked out because you must be telepathic because you just mentioned shrimp, which comes into our conversation about our film today.
Oh,
Shrimp
right.
will be part of our conversation.
Yes.
So, one of the reasons I love doing this show is because people bring me films overall that are not on the beaten path. No one's picked Zeppelin yet, or Dylan, or the Beatles. Everyone's just like going where they want to go with something that for reasons that we find out as we do the show. So you picked the film The Secret Life of Plants, which I'd
Yeah.
never seen before.
Oh, wow.
But my parents had the record, the Stevie Wonder record.
Yeah.
Is it Journey?
It's
Wonder's
Journey Through the Secret Life of Plants.
Right.
Yeah.
And I will say this. I don't remember it ever being played in our house. We had it, and I remember it being really cool because it had Braille on it.
That's right.
And I remember just, I kind of knew who Stevie Wonder was a bit, not from TV, just from radio and things like that.
Yeah.
But what a fascinating pick as an album, as an artist, and a film. So we've got a lot to unpack here. And I know you had the album as a kid.
Yeah.
But did you ever see this film before we before we decided to talk about it?
I'd seen it. I saw it once about 5 years ago. But it's something that my entire life I was trying to find it.
Right.
And could not. There were, I don't know if you ever had a bootleg copy of it at the store.
No, never on VHS or DVD. And no one even put out a bootleg copy that I could get. I would have gotten it.
It was never commercially released in any format. It's never been on any, commercial streaming platform. It's on YouTube right now, but it might go away. I've seen it come and go on there in the past. So I knew that it existed, but I was just like, and I knew that it was weird.
Yeah, a movie based on a book that then they bring Stevie Wonder in to really oversee the music, and we'll get into that. But it's weird because it's like Paramount Pictures is producing and distributing this documentary, right?
Yeah.
And so when was the last time you'd go see a major movie studio be like, this is what we do. We're going to bring you, this to the people.
That was probably the most mind-boggling part upon watching it again for the second time this week was like, who in the world thought that the mainstream movie-going public was going to buy tickets to see this? It is, first of all, it's a documentary. Second of all, it's just it's so strange and it's so bizarre. And a lot of the theories in it, come from the book, which I guess had sold pretty well a few years earlier. By two authors called The Secret Life of Plants. And it was, it's sort of about the notion of plants as intelligent creatures. Can plants think? Can they feel pain? Can they feel sympathy? And some of the stuff in there is legit, and I think a lot of the stuff in there is not legit. Is just sort of what they would call pseudoscience.
It's fascinating because obviously there was a bunch of people who really got the book and appreciated the book because it is very of the time. I even found the last paragraph to the book. It says, "The attraction of the seer's supersensible world or worlds within worlds is too great to forego, and the stakes too high, for they may include survival for the planet. Where the modern scientist is baffled by the secrets of the life of plants, the seer offers solutions which, however incredible, make more sense. Findhorn and the Garden of Eden than the dusty mouthings of academics. What is more, they give philosophic meaning to the totality of life. This supersensible world of plants and man, only touched on in this volume, will be explored in another, The Cosmic Life of Plants," which did not come out.
Right. Yeah.
So I was like, There you go.
That's great. And I think you're right. I mean, it's totally of the time, right? It's this new agey kind of thing. It's this idea that like, we are one with plants, and it was a popular idea at the time. There were other albums about and for plants at the time, the
Plantasia or something like that.
Plantasia.
Plantasia, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I forget the full. Oh, it was called Mother Earth's Plantasia: Warm Earth Music for Plants and the People Who Love Them.
By Mort Garson. That's
Yes,
such a good rock name.
yes, yeah, exactly. And that one was like very obscure. Not many
Yeah.
copies pressed. Apparently, you could only get it. Like, it was briefly available through the Sears catalog, and other than that, it was only available like plant at like a hippie plant shop somewhere in LA. Um, and Actually, do you know the story about how Andy Zachs saved that
I
recording?
don't. I don't, because I know that it got reissued a number of years ago
Yeah,
and kind of found another life on YouTube and got
right.
sampled and beloved. But no, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, actually, you know what? I misspoke slightly. It's not. So that record like kind of vanished, and then it was Crate Digger's Paradise, and then it got a proper reissue 8 or 9 years ago. But Mort Garson also did an original score for the CBS News broadcast of the moon landing.
Oh,
That was an
wow.
electronic score, and
What?
it was believed to have been like it was believed that there were no good quality copy remained to be found. And Andy Zachs, as part of some other archival project he was working on, discovered it and unearthed it and found a fairly
Of course
pristine
you did.
version and was able to like get it, salvaged. And he's been on your show, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a
Yeah,
couple times. Yeah, he's great.
yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because, the film starts and it's like the head group presents an Infinite Enterprises presentation. And already you're like, okay, this means
Hmm.
nothing to me.
Yeah,
But the person who directed is Walon Green, who like
yeah.
co-wrote The Wild Bunch with Sam Peckinpah. He wrote the Sorcerer, which is the remake of my all-time favorite film, Wages of Fear.
Oh my God.
And wrote for Hill Street Blues. He directed an Academy Award winning documentary that was called, what is it? It's called The Hellstrom
Oh yeah,
Chronicles,
right.
which is about insects taking over the earth and
Yeah.
really freaked people out at the time. So he had a lot of interest, I guess, in documentaries and especially kind of man destroying the earth and what's going to happen, which is
I
fair enough.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. His career is pretty nuts, I guess, if you think about all the different um things that he did, but I guess he was a logical fit for this project. I don't know who decided like, yeah, we should get that guy. Do you know the story, by the way? I only learned this recently about his cameo in the Willy Wonka movie, in the
No,
juvenile.
I have no idea. You mean the guy who wrote Solar Babies has has a has a cameo in the Willy Wonka movie?
He did he did all of the like spooky effects that are in that scary tunnel scene when the boat goes into
No
the tunnel.
way.
Yeah. And
That
there,
I saw that in the theater
yeah,
and I just was like, and of course, saw it once and then you couldn't see it again because
yeah,
you
right.
saw it in the theater.
Gone. Yeah.
But I was like, I think they chopped the chicken's head off.
Yeah. So he's the one who did all those like
Wow.
freaky graphics. And you may remember, perhaps upon rewatching, there's a short shot of like a giant millipede crawling across a guy's face,
Yes.
and
That's Wallen.
that's Wallen.
Wow. Kudos. He put his money where his mouth is. That's
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say the film, when it starts, you know, and Stevie Wonder's initial track comes in. I think it's Earth's Creation.
Yeah, I
That's
think
what
it's
it's
that one.
called. I mean, it sounds more like a Goblin soundtrack than a
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder soundtrack or
Mhm.
composition. Um, and all the time lapse stuff that's going on, it's beautifully shot. Like
Yeah.
if the film was just this without people talking in it
Yeah.
and Stevie Wonder's music for
Yeah.
like 100 minutes, which was what I thought it might be, I was
Yeah.
like, this is some of the most beautiful, intense photography I've ever seen in a movie. Just that is just focusing on nature.
Yeah, for sure. And that was, as I was watching it most recently this time, I was like, oh, if this had been the whole movie or most of the movie, it's like, it's the first, what, 7 or 8 minutes maybe.
Yes,
It's like lava explosions and then lava cooling and then gigantic ocean waves crashing and all just, yeah, all these incredible slow motion scenes of things in nature. The score is really intense. Um, that's the kind of thing where I was like, oh, this could totally like in the like in the early days of IMAX, this is what we used to go to IMAX for was to see these kind of like nature documentaries where like crazy shit would happen. Um, and so in that sense, that's like yeah, whatever commercial potential this film may have had, that's what it was in the first the first 6 minutes or whatever.
so and you grew up with the record, and
Yeah.
so it's interesting how Stevie Wonder was brought in and actually did the album and composed the score, because originally he was just going to do, I think, a couple songs,
Yeah.
and then they kind of were like, it'd be great if you want to do the whole thing, I believe. And but I think the film's producer would basically describe in detail to Stevie Wonder like what is happening on the screen, and then they would time the length of it. Do you know kind of like the
Yeah,
process of how this was made?
I think my understanding is that it was like an audio recording, a two-channel audio recording, and so in his left headphone was the film's producer giving the most vivid visual audio descriptions of the picture that he could, because uh, well, Stevie Wonder is blind, so that creates a challenge for film scoring. And then in the right channel was Stevie's engineer, Gary Olthable, who was like giving him sort of timing cues for everything. So then he's listening to this as he's composing. And so, you can see in the film, especially that opening sequence, like there's a lot of things where like, you know, the visual cut matches the audio switch perfectly. Like everything's really
Absolutely.
synced
It's
up.
tight.
Yeah. Which is uh a particular approach to film scoring, and he, without the benefit of sight was able to do a really good job on that.
Yeah, it's a really cool synth piece. Was it the first use of a digital sampling synthesizer?
I believe it was the first time that sampling was used on a commercial recording, and it's
Okay.
used pretty extensively throughout the record. And so, I mean, if you're talking about, uh, you know, innovation, that's kind of huge.
Yeah, it was an instrument called the computer music melodeon, and it was a monophonic synthesizer. The album also was like the second record ever to be released and recorded that was like a digital recording. Only Ry Cooder beat him to the punch, which you're like, what? Ry
Yes, Raikou,
Cooder?
of
Like,
all
like,
people, was like, let's make the first digital record. Yeah,
right,
right.
right.
Yeah, no, but this one, it makes more sense because it's lots of synthesizers and it's lots of sampling, um,
Totally.
and it's lots of electronic drums and it's lots of weird, and um, there's a lot of upright bass on it, but it's all done on synth, which is pretty amazing.
God,
Um,
it's incredible.
with all the sliding, and the tones are really terrific, and string sections, and um, but then he's also got like, they gave him like field recordings of birds chirping, and he's got a couple of tracks where like the snare drum is a bird chirp, basically.
Yeah.
He's just hitting it on the down, on the two and the four, and instead of hearing a snare sound, you're hearing a chirping sound. It's pretty wild, and obviously he was somebody who was always like, maybe not always, but certainly by the time he got to adulthood, he was, massively into exploring the potential of synthesizers and coming up with weird sounds and trying to figure out how to manipulate them, to his advantage. And, was always very cutting edge with that kind of stuff. So this project was sort of no different, other than the fact that, like, his 4 or 5 records that preceded that were all like monstrous hits with you know with like many million selling singles on each one, and he was this is I think what drew me to the notion of the film in the first place was like I can't maybe I cannot think of another case ever of somebody swerving so hard and so abruptly from being at the top of the mountain of popularity and greatness and acclaim and love, fan acclaim, critical acclaim, and then just like disappearing for 3 years and then coming back still very much in his prime and being like, I'm giving you an 88-minute album about the sentience of plants.
I know, you're psyched. You're like, oh, it's another double. It's great.
Yeah,
It's like, it looks cool. And, like the movie didn't play in my town. I don't know what this is. And it's like
yeah,
mostly instrumental.
right.
He doesn't sing. He sings on a bunch of songs, but not all over it. He has other vocalists singing.
Yeah, and then it's got like, there's a couple songs that are all Japanese instrumentation. There's a
Yep.
song that's all like Senegalese string instruments. It's like it's out there, man.
Yeah, he's got like children's voices, and at
Yeah,
times it's like nursery rhyme sounding, but then it'll be like a killer funk song, right? Or a beautiful ballad.
yeah,
So when you had this record,
yeah.
uh, what was your feeling like when you had the record?
I think I didn't. I think when I had it as a young kid, like I didn't know quite what to make of it, other than like I knew the song "Send One Your Love" because it was on the radio. Um,
Okay.
and and so that's probably why I wanted to get it. And I think like my memory. I mean, I think I was 7 when that record came out, and so my memories of it from that time is like I was really drawn to the packaging because it was like it was
Yes,
a
me
double,
too.
but it was a triple gate, and it had all this elaborate artwork on the inside, and then it had all this elaborate artwork on the sleeve. There were 2 sleeves, and each sleeve had an elaborate front and back artwork, and the whole thing when you close it up front and back, it's all this sort of light green, which was very different. Like all his 70s stuff prior to that had all been these sort of browns and oranges, and that was sort of what he was known for, and his picture was always on the front somewhere. And on this one, it's green, there's no picture, but then when you open it up, there's a big picture of him smiling, and it's when he had first started wearing his braids, and he's not wearing his glasses, so it was really like it was just it was like, oh my God, I've never seen this man with braids before. I've never seen him without his glasses before. And so that, so I guess the things that, um, the starkest memories I have from that time are almost more the sort of visual or tactile elements of the thing.
Did you have one of the scented records, the first pressings?
I don't know, but I'm glad you mentioned that because I was thinking about, so the other thing in terms of just this whole project being so bizarre was that it was like, Motown is Motown Records, and they're like, we've got
Right.
Stevie Wonder. He is the biggest artist on the planet. He just keeps giving us, one multi-platinum record after another. His previous 3 LPs had all won Album of the Year at the Grammys.
Yep.
And he's on this incredible hot streak, and they're like, we're gonna go with this. We're gonna do this big packaging, triple gate, embossed cover, braille type on the cover, all the sleeve art, everything, and then we're going to put some kind of like floral perfume scent on
Yes.
the sleeves of
Uh-huh.
the early pressings as a collector thing. But then, did you read this somewhere? I seem to remember reading that like it damaged the vinyl or something, and so they had to stop.
Yeah, they couldn't even unload the first run. Like
Yeah,
people stayed away from it. It was critically panned. The word was out. Like people were like, "Oh, this is not like the Stevie Wonder albums you have," and
yeah,
and
and
people were not, and they just were not gonna do it. And also, it's funny because this is '78, right?
79.
'79.
Yeah,
So just think. where music is already going and like where he wanted to go as well, like electronic music, sampling,
Yeah.
but it's such an interesting choice. It does feel sometimes like um, as futuristic as it can be on the album sometimes. It
Yeah.
also feels a little behind in a funny way. It's by design, not by like inspiration. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, right. That he's following a template to some extent.
Yeah, because imagine if he made the digital synth record
Yeah.
without these guidelines of
Yeah.
storytelling and characters in this
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
It it'd be really fascinating to see what this album in 1979 would have been.
Yeah, and I think there's some. I mean, there's so many songs on this thing, and I know that like, the label was pressuring him to like put some pop hit material on there, and I
Right.
think he, went along with that to some extent. Obviously, then the film is pressuring him to have certain kinds of cues, but there are some cues in the film that aren't on the record, and there's some songs on the record that aren't in the film. There's a
Yes.
lot of songs on the record that aren't in the film, especially like full length. And so I think in some ways, on some of those songs that maybe don't show up in the film, he was kind of indulging that more ambitious kind of visionary thing. I mean, obviously it is all in the framework of, The Secret Life of Plants. But it's but like the song Race Babbling is
Yes, that's the one I was thinking of. Yes.
unbelievable. Like that song
Yes.
is uh
It's like 9 minutes.
yeah, and it's also like it kind of became the template for like a lot of the like house music that came out of Detroit and Chicago a few years later. Um, yeah, and I think there's other songs like that where I think he is, he's being an artist and a visionary rather than like a someone who's hired to do a job.
Yes.
It sold really well in the first week, and then everybody was like, no, this is not like everybody's like, I'll buy anything that this guy puts out,
Yeah, it's like
but
Metal Machine music. Everyone's like, "Oh, I love Transformer."
yeah,
Then it's like, "I'm return, please.
yeah,
Can I get
yeah,
credit?"
yes,
It's so funny because we really haven't given people a glimpse at how weird the film gets structurally and scientifically. And I'm kind of okay with it. But then when that guy, Cleve Baxter Jr.,
oh
former
God,
CIA guy, shows
yeah,
up and he's just telling these stories about like, I was just wondering if like plants, if they could feel, something like, but I didn't, so I thought I'd get a match and light a plant to see if it would read,
yeah,
energy wise. But I didn't have matches. So I went in the other room and talked to someone and borrowed some matches. And while I was gone, the meter just freaked out. It knew that I was going to burn it.
yeah,
And so he does these things like where he has brine shrimp in these little containers
yeah,
above boiling water and a plant nearby that has like electrodes attached to it to measure its energy.
yeah,
And then he's like, the shrimp are in another room, the plant's in another room. I'm going to leave and walk around the block, but at some point the cans are going to tip over with the brine shrimp into the boiling water, and the plants are going to feel this.
yeah,
And they show it like they just show the thing happening, and you're like in it freaking out, and
yeah.
you're like, okay, like, well, first of all, are you saying that like, what if brine shrimp are telepathic? Like, why couldn't they be reading the energy of the thing? Like, why don't you,
Yeah.
but like, check I don't know. I felt bad for the brine shrimp.
Yeah, somehow, right. He's convinced that he's measuring this distress that the plants are feeling because the shrimp are in pain, are being
Yes.
boiled to death in the next room over.
And that they're going to be boiled too. Like like psychically feeling that like there's tragedy about to happen.
Yeah.
And it building. And then, and of course there's another scientist there who's like there to kind of confirm it. But it's just so weird the way it's shot at this point. Like it feels like a school film, like something they would show you in science class,
Oh,
and you're just
100%.
completely bored. It's brown, it's yellow, it's gray. But the freakiest thing I found out is the Baxter School of Lie Detection is
Yeah.
still around.
Oh my God. Well, so
Yes.
that's the first crazy part, is that his background is in polygraph detectors, right?
Yes.
Which is kind of, which I feel like has been large. I don't think anyone takes that too seriously really
Right.
anymore. Like,
Right.
I don't think any of that stuff is like admissible in a court of law or anything. You know what I mean? Like, um, so that's where he's come. He's like, I'm one of the, I'm the CIA's foremost expert on lie detection tests. Like, well, okay, whatever that means. And then he's extrapolating this theory that he's come up with about plant sentience. Yeah, it's nuts. And then when he's walking, and they show him walking around like the city streets at night, and
Yes.
so like while this like Stevie Wonder disco track is playing in the background,
Yes.
so very weird.
Yeah. Anytime humans show up in the film, it dips. Like, he has a Venus flytrap kind of song, with the bug being eaten. And it's just like, you can tell he's all in. He's super he's playful. It's weird.
Right. He's singing from the point of view of the fly trap and
Right.
the bug that's getting eaten.
Yeah.
It's very whimsical. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they'll cut to like in the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
We're going to show it, and it looks like SCTV or something. Like you're like, this looks like a set. Like they're like cutting a head of cabbage and then watching other plants freak out as their plant friend is murdered. Now, I don't know. Maybe it's true, but the way it's told in this film is it's like a horror movie and an exploitation movie. It's like, is this like a vegetarian Faces of Death? What's going on? Because the tonality, anytime it shows something with humans, you're just like, I don't trust you. Okay, we're gonna have a beautiful montage with Here Comes the Sun. Beautiful.
Oh, we got to talk about that.
You're like, yeah, this is like, how was this song ever made or recorded or written? They're incredible.
Yeah.
And the footage is amazing. But it's so weird that it comes out and it gives you a breath of just being like, okay, right, I'm still in this film.
Yeah, and the entire score for the whole film is all these, new original Stevie Wonder compositions that were done specifically for the film.
Yeah.
With one exception, all of a sudden, totally like by surprise from out of nowhere, the Beatles' Here Comes the Sun in its entirety.
Yes.
Got to these gorgeous nature montages, and it's like, I mean, how I don't even know what to say. Like, how does my first thought was like, I can't believe anybody, even Paramount, can like afford to use this song in its entirety,
But it made me think like if Stevie Wonder's involved and it's some cool pseudoscience nature thing, they might be able to go to Apple and go like, hey, we don't have a lot of money. We're doing this groovy thing. We're trying to save the world.
Right.
We really want to use it. And they might have turned their head, but I guarantee it.
And Magic Alex, is that his name?
Exactly.
Magic Alex is like, yeah, go for it.
But if Stevie Wonder's name was not attached, there's no way a Beatles song is getting into this film.
Sure. That makes sense. And I think, I mean, if Stevie Wonder's not attached, I don't know if this film's even getting made. Like by a major studio, you know what I mean?
Oh,
I think somehow like, I mean, I'm projecting, but all I can imagine is that they're like, the producers are pinching themselves because they're like, we have this really dumb movie.
Yes.
But we have the biggest musical genius on the planet, hottest star in the galaxy, on to do all the music for it.
It's amazing. Like, it's the total, what a gift, because the film really starts, it just loses steam. Like it feels like they're running out of things. There's that sequence where they're like, all across the land, plant stores have blossomed and garden clubs are blooming. And they're like, the National Onion Association of East Lansing, Michigan, the American Gourd Society of Mount Gilead, Ohio, the Bonsai Club International of Menlo Park, California, North American Gladiolus Council, the Indoor Light Gardening Society of Bay Village, Ohio. And so I looked up a couple of these.
Yeah. Oh, amazing.
The National Onion Association, still around. It's been around since 1913. They have a website. It's like, does placing onions around the house absorb the flu virus? Will onion juice help your hair grow? Can consuming onions cure your cough or cold? And then you click on those, and then it's like the page you're looking at no longer exists. So like their website's broken. There is the Oregon Gourd Society in Ohio still exists. Happy New Year from the Ohio Gourd Society. Can't wait to see what inspires gourd artists in 2026. Check out our advertisers for some must-have deals. So these places that I was like, these sound so made up.
Yeah. Well, so that's what I think.
They're real.
Yeah. So, you talk about the sequences with the humans being lacking. And
Yes.
I feel like the science gets stretched farther and farther as the film goes on in terms of all the science topics. Like, I think when they start at the beginning with Bose and India and George Washington Carver, they're actually onto something, right? They're like,
Totally.
these guys are real scientists who made incredible discoveries regarding plants and what plants do for the planet and what plants do for humans.
And everyone was skeptical of them. They were like, you are not based in science.
Right. And the reason why they were skeptical is because they weren't white,
Yes.
So, but then with each subsequent sort of scientific theory that is posited, they seem to get crazier and crazier, and just more outlandish, to the point where, those things, like those meter readings, they're like, I mean, they're not, I don't know, they're not tied to anything. It's like when you go to the Church of Scientology to get your reading.
Totally.
And they're like, oh, the needle's really moving. It's like, well, what's it measuring? Oh, it's your spirit or whatever. Like, it's just like,
well, yeah. And when they choose to cut to it's edited. So when it shows it freaking out, it's not like we're watching this together in real time. It's like, okay, I'm taking your word for it.
Yeah.
Now that you've shown the brine shrimp hit the water, and now we're cutting to a needle freaking out, that this happened. We're watching this in real time. And there's even that thing where they have that, oh my God, the most 70s looking dude who is being like, he's going to watch films and see if the plant can figure out what he's feeling as he's watching this. Like, it's like the end of Soylent Green, where it's like nature shots and naked women and whatever. And they're like, oh, we got a really good subject here. Like, this is really, and you're just like, what is going on? It is so tedious, shot poorly.
Yeah.
Feels like kind of like is like just slightly illegal in a weird way. Like, do these people, are they, like, is there some dark organization that's going on here that like,
well, and all of those sequences, all of those settings are disjointed. Like, none of them have anything to do with any of the others. It's almost this sort of hodgepodge, and they are, and I was curious because, I mean, obviously, like, I'm not a scientist, so I'm looking and I'm like, that one looks like bullshit, So I went and looked at sort of like some things that have been written about the book in the many years since, and I'm pleased and sort of relieved to say that, like, the stuff that felt legit to me was basically scientists were like, yeah, that's legit. And the stuff that was kind of bullshit, they were like, yeah, it's kind of bullshit. And the stuff that was total bullshit, they were like, yeah, it's total bullshit.
Good.
So I felt like I was able to trust my own reaction on that, it turned out. But, no, the one thing that's sort of not, the one thing with humans, I guess, that's not scientific is what you're talking about, all the sort of vegetable clubs and garden clubs, and showing those people walking around at these sort of like hoity-toity outdoor social gatherings, and then they're interviewing people to ask them about like what's your relationship like with your house plants and that stuff. Like it is kind of it is kind of lame and boring, but I was very entertained by it just because like um and some of your listeners will understand what I'm talking about. The whole thing felt like a scene out of a Rachel Lichtman piece, you know.
I
Um
really dig this.
yeah, right. Um so so that to me, I was imagining it as if she had made it, and I was like, oh, this is really fun.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like when it gets out of the forced academia of these people, like just with their scattershot scientific theories.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with people who are into gardening or talking to their plants or thinking that music changes things. It's like, yeah, more power to you. Go for it. But to just have it be like, we have, science is behind us, basically, like you said, there were people that were like judged because of the color of skin on scientific theories that they had and not allowed into institutions. And then you have somebody in the CIA basically being like, well, I'm in the same boat. They don't take me
Right.
seriously.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting now that I think about it, it's like like the non-white scientists who were actual scientists were not taken seriously, but like the white guys who were like, I've got a crackpot theory, they're like, very interesting, tell us more,
I
please.
know. And now we have a film about it.
Yes.
Well, I was really touched too because you told me that you in high school did a version of Come Back as a Flower off
Yes.
this record.
Yes.
And here's a little of it for you. Enjoy, everybody. That is kind of amazing. Like, why and how did you record that? Like, what made you want to do that?
I was a teenager and I was learning how to use multi-track equipment. I had an old Tascam Porta that used regular cassette tapes, and you could put 4 tracks on there. And given the amount of tape hiss on that, I'm guessing that I had bounced a couple of times. I
thought it was 703 for a second there.
Yeah.
Hey, that's for the heads out there.
But I probably loaded it up, and I probably was just like, I probably had just learned how to play that song, so I was like, wow, these chord changes are so cool, like, because it's an incredibly like beautiful melodic ballad, and yet the chords are so strange. So I think I was like, this is a good exercise to kind of figure out how to do this. And then it wasn't until I watched the movie again this week that I remembered that I had done that. And then the fact that I actually like found the recording of it was pretty astounding to me.
That's amazing. I love it. And you're right. It's hearing it broken down like that and hearing the effort you're putting into like multi-tracking this and breaking down the different synth parts and when they come in and out. That's a complicated track.
I think I was just trying to learn, as much as I could. I was like, this piece is like the highest level of complication that teenage Josh can comprehend.
Right.
So let me just try to wrap as much of myself around it as I can and see how close I can get to achieving what the thing is supposed to be.
Well, it's funny because in the film, there starts to be kind of a trilogy of pretty solid Stevie Wonder, the kind of more traditional songs you would think from him, Outside My Window, Black Orchid, and The Secret Life of Plants.
Yeah.
And that sequence of Black Orchid with the dancer dancing, in community gardens surrounded by like just burnt out buildings, just shells of buildings, um, was really beautiful, I thought.
Yeah, I thought that segment was super beautiful. Both of those segments, the outside my window and the Black Orchid. Then we could talk about the last couple ones because those are sort of striking in their own way. But like, yeah, I don't. I mean, again, it's not like I don't. I don't like nobody's going to pay money to go see that in a mainstream movie setting,
No.
but it was wonderful.
If it had been like Stevie Wonder and some artists making a film with his music and dancers and stuff, it could have been like, oh yeah, this is his, live at Pompeii. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like a cool
yeah.
abstract artist thing. Get stoned, watch it.
Mhm.
Sounds great in the theater. And
Yeah.
so it makes me kind of sad because I see the potential
Mm,
for a really great collaboration of like film and Stevie Wonder music.
yeah.
But again, when the humans show up to just talk about science, it's just, it just kills the momentum of something. So it's
Yes.
interesting that the last kind of 20 minutes of the film, like the first part of the film is really strong. And I feel
Yeah.
like the end of this film is really strong. And in the middle is just a crap sandwich.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of garbled mess in the middle.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, it does finish strong with those two pieces, and then the the um the title track, which is basically a music video.
I had no idea. I'd never seen that.
Yeah.
When Stevie Wonder shows up in the film
Yeah.
and is walking through all different parts of nature, forests, sunflower field,
Yeah. Walking by himself, wearing long robes, braids, no glasses, sandals.
lip syncing.
Yeah.
And it's a great song. I just like, how come I've never seen this just even on its own?
Yeah. Right. And this, yeah, the cinematography is incredible, especially the sunflower field is like that looks like it's out of a dream or something.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And you're like, well, again, like they get it. Like Stevie Wonder gets it, the filmmaker gets it, because this is like an emotive, like the things we're talking about, Black Orchid, outside my window, where people are talking about their love of plants, this
Mhm.
him singing The Secret Life of Plants. Um, they're emotive rather than scientific.
I haven't read the book, so I don't know if the book is really mired in the science, and so then they kind of had to have that in there because it was this adaptation of the book. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, one of the authors of the book was also one of the producers of the film.
Yes, they were.
So, so I mean, I'm sort of speculating here, but he might have been like, no, we got to have the, we got to show the meters freaking out on this, the scientific readouts going crazy because that's
Right.
really make people realize that we are in tune with plants or whatever.
So the album, in retrospect, has kind of had a different look at it. Like people really respect it now and kind of live in it and think it's really adventurous and ahead of its time. Where do you stand on it?
Uh, yeah, I think so. I mean, there for me there will never be any getting around the curiosity of like what causes someone in his position to decide to make that particular turn at that particular time. Um, that is just endlessly kind of baffling and fascinating. As a standalone work, um, it's probably not as strong. It's not as strong overall as his other 70s output. But
Sure.
it's really, really strong, and it is different, and it does some things that those didn't do, and it's got these, innovations on it, technically and artistically. Um, he doesn't really have anything else that qualifies as a concept album. I guess some people say Songs in the Key of Life because the concept is life, but it's pretty broad. This is
And
a
it's his concept too. It didn't like it's coming from him.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so it's more just sort of autobiographical or whatever than
Right.
conceptual. But this album is conceptual, and and it's well executed. it's a weird record. I guess that's what I would say. That's what really makes it stand out from his other output. You know, he's got other songs on other records where there are weird sounds. There are synths making little weird sounds, and there's always been a part of, he's such a fascinating amalgam of like, you know, protest singer, love balladeer, funk singer, synthesizer dork, like peace and love, uh, vibration person, like he's all of those things. And this is the one where he, really indulges um, I guess the synthesizer dork part most. And, I've read and heard about how it's kind of one of those records that like, there's certain people like Questlove and Solange and Janelle Monáe, people like that, sort of modern R&B people who have a pretty expansive view of R&B and how they create it and and what their output is. And those people talk about how like that was a super important record for them because it expanded in their mind the possibility of what soul. And it's like, and it wouldn't surprise me. Again, I have no idea if it's true or not. It wouldn't surprise me if like Prince and Sly Stone totally loved this album and were like, "Whoa!"
Guarantee it.
But I think it's like I've heard as a theory that the um, the backlash against this record was part of what caused Stevie to kind of go middle of the road in the '80s.
Oh, wow.
That I don't know how much truth there is to it, but just this idea that like,
Yeah.
he made himself very vulnerable, and as self-confident and capable and thick-skinned as he may be, the reaction was so harsh that he might have just been kind of like, okay, I guess you guys want the hits.
Yeah. I mean, he even did a little tour for this record, and it was supposed to be a big tour. And, I mean, in terms of concept, it was big, and there was an orchestra, and they were showing, scenes from the movie. But he couldn't even sell out his hometown in Detroit. They were just like, and so they cut it down to 6 cities. It must be weird when I mean, he's a genius.
Right.
But then in Motown's like, this did not work,
Yeah.
and we put cents on your record,
Yeah.
like we went all out.
Yeah. And that's actually, you mentioned the tour. That's one of those things, because my understanding is that they recorded all those shows. None
Oh,
of that,
wow.
none of that has ever seen the light of day in any official or unofficial way. That's something I would love to hear. I mean, it was a 40-piece all black symphony orchestra, plus his backing band, plus, additional singers and horns. Um, and I think like the first set was pretty much the album, and then the second set was like the hits or whatever. But
Right.
that's like, yeah, I could imagine people being so excited to see Stevie Wonder and then being like, here's 80 minutes of instrumental plant music with weird visuals on the screen.
Yeah, you come out with the first
Yeah.
song. It's
Yeah.
just like, what are we getting tonight?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Please play Superstition, please.
Yes, exactly. I'm so glad you picked this, and I'm so glad that it's available right now. I will put links in the show notes if people want to watch it. Again, it's I think it's worth seeing once, even
Yeah.
for just the stuff in the middle that you're like, oh my God, like this got made. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's kind of incredible. But the beginning of the film and the end of the film are pretty incredible for, like, and just in terms of its artistry. And also the last song is just worth, if someone said, hey, wait, you have to watch this entire film so you can just watch the end.
Yeah.
At the end, I'd be like, oh, it's worth it to see the last 15 minutes of this film,
Sure.
So I think it's worth tracking down. But what I love is that you picked it, and that you learned a song when you were in high school and 4-tracked it. I love it. It's just That's why I love doing the show. It was such a part of you, even though you hadn't seen the film, and it's kind of a weird record. I love it.
Yeah, and it's part of why I love listening to your shows, because everybody who comes on has like their movie that's their thing, and there's a reason why, and there's a story. It's the same with when I get those song requests at the ball games. There's a reason why somebody's, favorite song is like "Ain't Nothing Gonna Break My Stride." Like there's and the song is the song, but the reason is like very compelling.
I'm gonna have some plants send you my request next time.
Okay, perfect.
And see if you get it.
Yes.
Well, Josh, as you know, at the end of every episode, I ask the same question, but I tailor it depending on what we're talking about. So on a scale of a plant feeling one brine shrimp being dumped into a pot of boiling water, being the lowest, while being in the next room, I should add.
Yes.
To 78 brine shrimp being dumped into a pot of boiling water, with the plant feeling the energy in the next room. What amount of brine shrimp do you give The Secret Life of Plants?
The Secret Life of Plants gets all of the brine shrimp for its sheer audacity.
Absolutely. 78 is the right answer. As you can see here, that's what I had. It's the only answer. Josh, so good to see you. And I think I'm going to have to go to my first baseball game.
Please do.
See you next time. Thank you for listening to Revolutions Per Movie. We release new episodes every Thursday on your favorite podcast app and additional bonus episodes every Sunday on our Patreon. The show is a completely independent affair, so the best way to support the show is through our Patreon at patreon.com/revolutionspermovie, where you can get weekly bonus episodes and shows, exclusive limited edition flexi discs and records and CDs featuring guests that have appeared on the show, and other exclusive goods sent to you just for joining. You can follow us on social media at Revolutions Per Movie and also find out more information about our various guests in the episode show notes. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week. Bye.